Welcome to the Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson, who wants to talk about and reveal what the United States government doesn't want you to know about UFOs and aliens right here in this country and around the globe. Russell has been following this material for over 50 years and will have guests who will tell their stories from around the world. Take down the number to call in, 888-565-1470, because Russell wants to hear your story. Our show also invites you to send your pictures and videos to UFO@amp2.tv so we can show them on our program at lightsinthenight.tv. Now, let's get to the Lights in the Night subject matter and hear what the government has tried to keep quiet for over 50 years. Again, get ready to call 888-565-1470 and watch on lightsinthenight.tv. Now, here's Russell with today's show.
Well, welcome again to Lights in the Night. And so each week we come to you and we will be talking about abductions, crop circles, pyramids, Atlantis, all of these subjects. And we're going to really Hollow Earth, and we're going to be lining up. And Hollow Earth was last week, and it was a good show. And a lot of information. And I want to bring him back again because after this week we are going for an hour each evening.
Now.
Rabbi Jenny is with us this evening, and she is from 5 until 6,
yes.
And we'll come back from 6 until 7, and then there's another show that's being organized 7 until 8. So, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Russell. Super excited to be here.
All right. So, and then we have Lady Barrett.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you guys again this
Jessica,
week.
your experience with abductions, aliens, looking at this whole picture, give us some background, a little bit of background.
Absolutely no background, but a belief that, there has to be something out there, So I'm excited to hear what you have to say because I want to learn more.
Right. Well, we're going to talk. This is the guest here.
Remember Russell?
Russell wanted signed up for it. So everybody, I hope you're laughing and
Russell only asked the questions, remember, Jess?
That's right, exactly.
So, Rabbi Jenny, thank you for being with us this evening.
It's my pleasure. It is
Listen,
my pleasure.
you got a wealth of experience in terms of how people develop with the personal, all the personal principles of self-development,
Yes.
self-esteem, self-image, all that. Tell us about any experience that you've had in all of your years.
And just in general,
with
regards to extraterrestrials.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
besides, I just have to tell you something really funny, which is going to make you laugh. And my son's name is Sawyer Fox Cooven. Now, if anyone on this panel can guess where I got his middle name from, you know where I got it, right? Where's his name from?
Oh, the show that was
Yes,
on,
the show. Who is he? What show?
The guy that played David Duchovny?
David Duchovny played him. What was his name? Fox Mulder from the X-Files.
X-Files.
Yes.
All right.
That's where his name is from. So, I think that as a spiritual or a mystical person, I think that you always are looking for the truth. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think that was the poster he had in his office. The truth is out there. And so I think there are layers and layers of truth. I remember going through a period of time, and this is an actual true story, and you can judge me if you want. It was before I became a rabbi, so please, forgive me for all of that. But I was driving home from UMass. I was up in college at UMass, and I was driving home, and there's this part where you go, I believe it's between Delaware and Maryland on I-95. It's probably different now, but it's very narrow, and I'm tired and I'm exhausted, and I don't really know what happened on this road trip, but it was like a 24-hour drive. But I was not in my car, and it was real. Like I didn't know what it was, but I remember when this happened. It was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like 18, 19 years old. And I remember after that reading books and trying to figure out what happened because I wasn't in my car. So whether that's extraterrestrial, whether that's spiritual it could be mental health disassociation, it could be exhaustion. I'm not sure, but I remember starting to read books and question and think about things differently about not being alone in the universe, and I just think that there's too many pieces of the puzzle that are consistent throughout our cultures on this planet where we haven't, even from a mystical or spiritual or religious standpoint. I've traveled to the mountains and studied with the Peruvian shamans, the Caros, and then studied a little bit with Lakotas, and everybody's, and even in sacred Judaism, there's the real consistency in math and numbers, and I don't know, you just have to ask yourself, like, why? It couldn't possibly be it. It just couldn't possibly be that we were alone, and yet some people would say, well, of course it could. And so I don't know, but that was one of two very weird experiences that I had. I don't know. I'm going to share the other.
No.
Come on, we want.
Okay,
come
let's
on,
share one
we
or
want to
two.
hear the other one. Come on, share it.
Well, this one just is fairly recent. I was at Taos. I really find that you have to travel on the planet, to get a full view of life. So if the listeners are listening, please make travel a big part of your life, because you have to see this planet. It's beautiful. But I was in Taos, which is this up in New Mexico, and I was on the gorge. New Mexico is traditionally there's a lot of stuff. You fly over New Mexico, the plane shakes a little more than every other state. It's true. I mean, it really does happen. If you're flying over to Arizona, it gets a little weird. I don't know what that means. It could be the metals in the earth. So, I mean, I'm pretty knowledgeable in physical law. But so I was on the gorge. The gorge it's not quite even close to the Grand Canyon, but it's a very big gorge that you can go visit outside of Taos, and you drive out there and they have all the vendors, and I literally, a very similar experience sort of happened to me, that I was looking, it's a giant gorge. Like you don't think about jumping off this unless you have mental illness. But it was like, I was leaning over this gorge, and my body, I was explaining to you, I can't explain it any more than this. It just fell off. And I was still standing there.
So you had out of body.
I don't know, because then I looked at myself and I was still up there. It was down there. Does that make sense?
All right, so your body fell.
Yeah.
And you stayed.
Yeah. Now, guys, you're listening. This is Rabbi Jenny. I'm very grounded. I don't believe anything I'm telling you. Is all I have a very, you know what I mean? Like in my one part of my mind. But this really mystically, spiritually happened to me. And I looked, and I was very big, like bigger than I could have ever possibly imagined. My everything, and light, and this bright light, and all I could take as a rabbi. So if you're listening to me, it could be extraterrestrial, absolutely, but it also could be your soul. Like I was given a vision of how big we really are, and if you listen to my show, I'm always saying that you are huge divine light. Well, I was, really shown that, in a sense, and it didn't freak me out, because I don't get freaked out by stuff like that. I just, it was real, and I would not tell people about it, because I didn't make it up. I don't make stuff up, and it didn't take me off into La La Land. But, it really, in this area of the country where there's supposed to be these energy experiences, you go to certain places. I went to Sedona. The trees grow curvy. There's, because of what's going, they grow twisted, and that's real,
So what happened? So you're down looking, you're up, you're big.
It was like I was
the divine
without a body.
How did you get back connected to body?
I don't know. I mean, that's like the big answer. I just like kind of snapped out of it. That's what it felt like. And then I didn't really think about it until I was on the plane ride home.
That's
and
interesting.
I went, whoa. And I couldn't believe how big I was. And I could not lose that concept for a really long time. Like for a couple months, I was very aware of how big we all are.
I had a
are.
similar experience. I was a martial arts instructor, owned a martial arts school here in Boca Raton. And I was talking to one of my students, on when I say, okay, do this move on me, I was showing a move. So I was in the middle of a conversation, and I used the word okay, not meaning like 1, 2, 3, okay. And all of a sudden, I was huge, and I looked, and my body was on the ground.
Wow.
And I was like, oh! And I actually remember my reentry because it was acknowledgement but I remember being very, very big, kind of that one with all big.
Yeah, it's
right?
very strange.
Popped in the body, and then it was absolute crazy ESP for the next 4 hours. I could tell you who was calling on the office phone before it even rang. Like, was crazy.
Wow.
But I remember that moment going, "Oh, my body!" and dive back in.
It was a very positive experience because
Yeah.
I know like some people talk about this stuff in a very scary way, and mystical or not mystical, or extraterrestrial or whatever. I don't know, but it was extremely positive for me, especially in the weeks that followed because I had my self-esteem was just through the roof because I became so aware of the spirit and how big and people don't look the same to me anymore.
Right,
You know, they just
right.
don't. They don't, I don't assume the smallness of human, and now I understand the uncomfortability that we go through as people being in these vessels. But, the connection between other things, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's certain recreational things, drugs and stuff you do in college, and you have these conversations late at night. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. Freddie's going to yell.
No, that's good. Look,
I don't know. I just don't know the answers to these things, but they really did happen. Those two
Right.
things in my car and on that gorge.
so that was back in the 60s in terms of the car experience. Is that what you were saying? No,
Want me
I'm not trying to
punch
make
you,
a
or- No, that
court
was
in
like
it.
1990.
90, okay. Because I'm going back to
You get
1960.
easy on the women's age,
Easy on the
honey.
women's age.
No, no.
I
Come
was
on.
that in the 60s.
experience
Oh, I
that
see.
you were having.
The experience,
Reference
yeah.
to the
No,
experience.
because if we go back in history, we look at a big story that was Betty and Barney Hill for the people who do track these abductions,
I've
if you
heard
will.
of Benny and
Yeah.
Bobby Hill.
Yeah, Barney Hill, yeah.
Barney
What did
Hill.
you hear about that?
I've heard that there's a story to tell, and I'm so excited to hear it.
It was a motion picture, too. It was a motion picture also.
What was the
Oh,
motion
yeah.
picture called?
Interrupted Journey. So you might want to get that.
Yes.
It's a great picture. I won't go through the whole story, except that they went through the whole. I mean, it was trauma for them because they're coming back from that missing time, about 4 hours. So that was part of the whole history of what we're talking about, abductions and all. What do you think about abductions? Do you ever get into that? Do you ever get anybody to talk about that with you?
No, I mean,
You have the statistics. Do you have the statistics we were talking about?
Yeah.
I've given you.
Some of the statistics over here. I'll find them.
Here, if you
right,
will.
Yeah.
Right,
There we go.
right.
Right here.
what do I think about it?
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, I think it's fascinating. I don't think it's like gobbledygook. I think it's I mean you can't have so many people saying something without it meaning something. Now, is it what we think it means? I don't know. Sometimes I think it's different dimensions of the same reality, which is a whole different theory. But I don't know. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Jessica, you have those statistics. Could you read them for us?
Yeah, sure, definitely. It says polls suggest that 93% of the population believe that extraterrestrials exist. Wow, 93%. That's a lot. 27% believe that the Earth has been visited by aliens. Are you in that 27%, Rabbi Jenny?
Well, in a lot of mystical, traditions, that's as part of the future. I mean, that's part of the idea that we will connect with, with higher spiritual beings. I think that you have to look when you're looking at the physical dimensions of things. You would call them that, and I think that that's the problem with a lot of this is you're not looking at things, on the four realms of spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional. Like these things can appear in different realms, and I think when you go to that, Steven Spielberg level, you're going to a physical level, very limited, not an energetic level. So I don't know. I mean, they talk about it. They talk about it in the mountains of Peru. They talk about the Mayan culture. They just star beings that walked right off into the entire culture just walked off. Into
When
the
you
heavens.
were in Peru, did you see anything in the sky that was, let's just say, unidentifiable? Any lights? Anything that caught your curiosity?
No, I was so fascinated. I just saw the big mountains. I was just blown away by the energy there. But you could feel like the magnets at Machu Picchu, and you do ask yourself when you are at Machu Picchu if you've ever been there. When you go up to that tall peak and you see these huge stones that are perfectly, they're giant, and the Incan culture was like 4 foot.
Yes.
You say to yourself,
You
how did they
question.
get that up there? That's real. Like who put that up there? And then when you see the consistency between that and the Middle East, buildings, and the there's like a consistency to all of that, and so that's real. That's
Have you
very
noted
real.
the statues on Easter Island? Have you seen any pictures of that?
Yes.
Right. I mean, you see those
The head,
statues,
yeah.
huge, weighing thousands of tons. And how did they get there? So, but you had more statistics.
Yeah, absolutely.
right.
Well, this one's interesting. It says 85% of adults believe good evidence that life exists on other planets. That's an interesting one. And another one, of course, I'm sure this is already increased by the time of this print. One poll showed that 80% of Americans believe that the U.S. government is hiding knowledge of the existence of extraterrestrial life. Don't you think?
I don't think too much like that. I got to be honest. Like, I don't go there. I don't care. I mean, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm a woman who wears a yarmulke all day long. Like, I don't care. But I like, my son and I are space freaks. I'm a space freak. I mean, we went to Kennedy and slept under a rocket on a field trip, and we watched this Hubble telescope movie. 3D movie, and the telescope takes you all the way to the birthplaces of these galaxies, and it's the most life-changing movie. So if you can rent it, great, but if you can see it in the theater, there, because it's this big theater, and there's no way, there's nothing in nature that suggests one of anything. Even we don't suggest that. So
Right.
I mean, I would hate to think we were it. That stinks.
How boring for a big
Yes.
divine
What-
being
what
to come
did-
down as
what
this
did,
only.
Oh, my, that'd be
Neil,
depressing.
what did
Just come.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
what did he say?
Oh, my
He,
gosh.
he lives in West Palm Beach.
He does. So
Yeah,
this-
he's an acquaintance of mine.
Wow. So this is an actual NASA astronaut, Ed Mitchell. He said that aliens are definitely with us, and it's been well covered up by all our governments for the past 60 years. So,
Document.
Yeah,
And then you have the
documented.
new project, that Project Disclosure by Dr. Greer, that he has about 400 or 500 serious people from around the world, retired generals, admirals, and all of whom are saying it's true. That we're being visited by dozens and dozens of species from other parts of the universe, and it's a big research project going on as we speak. So,
Yeah, that's Dr. Stephen Greer, right?
yeah, Stephen Greer, right.
And
Go
I,
ahead.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
follow up one little interesting thing that's in this article. The gentleman that wrote it said, for what it's worth, in the past 3 years, I've asked about every person I know whether or not they believe in extraterrestrial life, and no one has given me a flat no. Everyone has said the universe is huge. Why would we be alone?
Yep.
Right, but what it's like, why? I don't know, like, why cover it up? Like,
Mass
panic.
That's it.
well,
That's it.
I don't know,
It's like telling, well, you know what? It's like telling everyone, sorry, the world isn't flat.
Right.
What?
True,
It
true.
would. It would.
Didn't the Vatican come out
They did.
in
They
favor
did.
of
They-
I
they
mean,
did.
honestly,
They
as
did.
a religious
They-
leader, I think the Vatican
Yeah.
is now, it has their own research
Huge.
project. In this
Well, and
whole
there's
area.
rumor that the Pope's even going to actually announce it sometime in September during his visit here. It's a rumor. I don't know.
So there's a big process of disclosure. People are talking about it in a real sense of the word. Now, if you asked a great question, why was it initially hidden, if you will,
Right.
covered up? Well, back in 1947, July 4th, when they had the big Roswell crash in New Mexico, that it was announced that they had found a spaceship that had crashed and some aliens
Okay.
that were there.
Yeah.
Then the General Nathan Twining said, no, we can't tell the people that. We have to not tell them the truth about this. Let's call it a weather balloon. So that was the cover story.
Because they were worried, Truman was worried that it would, because we had just come out of a huge war, that this was way too much now to have this on top of the war, right, Russell?
Well, that was part of it. But the other piece that goes back to 1938, when Orson Welles did the radio show, War of the Worlds.
Right.
And when he did that show, if you go back in history
Yeah.
and Google all of that, you see what. Go ahead, tell what did the
Oh,
people.
no. All I know is they said that it freaked people out. Everyone thought it was real and it was just a joke, and it really sent people into a panic. And they realized in that
Yeah.
moment, wow, aliens, not a good topic for Americans.
Yeah, people were going to the streets, screaming, jumping out of windows, the whole 9 yards back in 1938. And they said, okay, if people are going to react in that fashion, then we cannot tell them the truth. You're not
They'll
ready
panic.
for the truth, you know? You can't handle the truth. So let's pull back and cover this up until maybe the people will get ready when we want to disclose this to the wider world. Go ahead.
That's right. All I was going to say, and it is being disclosed right here on lightsinthenight.tv, and we are so happy you all are here with us.
Okay, great. And people who want to call in.
Oh my
if
gosh.
you have any question.
Oh yeah. Well, actually,
Well,
anybody
it's-
know the call-in number?
Yeah, it's 888 565.
565-1470.
Okay, right. So anyone who want to call in and say, hey, I've had an experience, or I don't believe it, or I do believe it, or I'm an alien, whatever your position, call in and let's talk.
Yeah,
okay?
call in.
my
And if you,
Especially if you're alien, I would love to talk to you.
right, and if you want to send
Shar,
in,
please call.
right, if you want to send in pictures to the email amp2.tv.
Yes.
Okay.
UFO at amp2.tv.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
right.
UFO. That's
at
right. It
amp.
doesn't have to be a UFO.
so-
does not have to be a
so
UFO.
Rabbi-
Send us pictures,
Pictures.
questions.
No, I just signed up for it. I hope they don't come get me.
Well,
They're on your team now.
Yeah,
It's okay.
no,
It's okay.
I
We're
am
winning.
one.
it sounds like you had some missing time in that little travel that you had. So,
It was weird. I mean, I gotta say, it was a weird. And again, it also stayed with me. And this idea of being in and out of your physical body stayed with me at that point as a kid. And also, there was other stressors in college and recreational things going on. But that. Oh Lord, it's okay. It's all really in my. No, it's in my book. It's I don't know. I believe in angels. How can I believe in angels and not? I don't know. I mean, I think that you have to be open. We have to be open and unafraid, because the Pachamama, the Mother Earth, we need to be open to the idea that things aren't necessarily negative. And that's what I kept thinking about when you were talking. And I could sit here and be like, oh my God, what did I do? But I could also sit here and think, I think it's the natural human assumption of negativity, of fear, of harm. And I think movies add to that. I think that public
Sure.
culture adds to that. I just watched the movie Pixels, for God's sake. It's like it was video games, but they were coming to harm us. And it was just this scary, we as humans are always doing that. Like, why couldn't it just be actually they're coming to help us? Our planet's in trouble.
Well, and I think, too, what I have noticed is if you believe in aliens, then you have to then believe that your government has lied to you. And so for some people, making that shift is not only recognition that it exists, but, oh, my gosh, there's a conspiracy in government. For some people, that there's a conspiracy is weird. So they would have to make that leap, too. My government lies to me? No.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, I would think, kids today. I work in the field of addiction, and I work in trauma with young kids, and they don't. Oh, and they don't think like that.
No, they don't, but they
They
believe in
don't.
aliens.
Right, but they also don't think like they're not lying to me. Like, that doesn't bother them. I think that comes from where there was not TV.
Right, no, I
where
know
we
older
lived,
people
you know what I mean?
that don't
Like,
believe, though. It's
Yeah.
the older
Right.
ones when they don't
Yeah.
believe, I think, because I've talked to some older folks and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, there's no aliens, there are no aliens. But I think that then they also believe in the good old United States and everybody's truthful and, it's like, okay.
well, on the program, we were in the future. We were talking about crop circles. We were talking about pyramids and abductions and why people are abducted, and how do you recognize whether or not you have been abducted, because your mind can be erased, and that's easily done because the mind is a crystal and it's a. But anyway, the other thing that I will have on the program is people like Dr. Stephen Greer. I will bring in George Green of the American West Publishing Company. And I'm looking here at the former defense minister, Paul Heller, of Canada. He's saying aliens are here. He has documented proof. And so all these people are beginning to come forward and say, hey, listen, this is real. In the vastness of the universe, billions and billions and billions of galaxies, hundreds of billions of planets, we are not the only people in the whole vastness of the universe. That is ludicrous, according to some people.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's extremely hopeful. I mean,
Yes.
I'm a really hopeful person. I don't know. I think it's more hopeful than anything. This idea that there is the different levels of being, of whatever it means, because
Different
recently
dimensions.
but just it's so much hope. And when I was in Alaska with my son, again, I always talk about the planet, but when I was there with him, I got so much hope, because there's eagles like pigeons, and there's bears, and a rainforest untouched, and there's so much hope. And this idea that this is coming now can only mean hopeful things. So I think that for people, fear is the enemy and love is not. So why couldn't this mean something really loving? And when you go out in that Hubble thing and you see that pink energy that's out there, I mean, I don't know. I
Love.
mean, I just can't help but thinking that's fabulous.
Well,
I agree with
in.
you. I'm with
I'm
you.
in. Joy, love.
I know we're
aliens,
running
bring
out
on
of
your good
we
time.
have 1 minute.
Yes.
Oh,
1
geez,
minute.
time
Oh,
is
no,
gone.
it's fast.
Well,
Time
listen,
flies
lady,
when you're in another dimension.
well, I tell you what, we are
Yeah.
going to expand it to an hour from now on, as
Starting
of next week,
next
starting
week.
next week. So give her the information. We have about 60 seconds left. That's about
All
it.
right, so visit us at lightsinthenight.tv. Send your photos UFO at amp2.tv. And you can also check out some great information at therealtruthcall2.com. And don't forget our awesome radio station, wwnnradio.com.
Well, Jessica, thanks for being
Yeah.
with us, Lady Barrett.
Thank you.
Hey, Rabbi, I really appreciate you being
Yeah,
here
check out
with
the
us.
Rabbi Jenny Show,
Rabbi
5 to
Jenny,
6,
for sure.
WWNN, RabbiJenny.tv. Check it out.
And
if
the,
you want
it's
to
the
bring
best
some
of the
light and
best, the
love.
best of the best.
Yes.
Maybe you bring us all back on your show.
Oh, I don't know. That'd be kind of funky.
She
We're
said,
gonna get this.
I don't think so.
I don't know. You can.
I don't know. May the lights in the night
I don't know. It's out there now.
light
I don't
up
know.
your heart.
Okay, that's it. Hey, thank you again, Rabbi. Thank you for being on the
Thank
program.
you guys.
Appreciate
It was
it.
a
Thank
really
you.
a lot of
Thank you.
Have a
fun.
good one.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Next week, same time, same
Yeah.
place.
Thank you for listening and watching The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson. Today's show can be seen on lightsinthenight.tv. And remember to send your pictures and videos to UFO at amp2.tv. And perhaps they will be used on the show. Join us next week as we bring you more information on UFO sightings and aliens that your government doesn't want you to know about. Keep the information flowing, and we will see you next week on The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Talk 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
It's free, readily available on your PC, laptop, tablet, or smartphone.